YouTube, a lot of people have quit playing Warzone, have quit playing Call of Duty altogether. I am not one of those people. I have continued to play this game since its launch. Not every day, but I've uploaded more videos than there are days the game has been out. I've been putting a lot of time into this game, and with that, I am still looking forward to Warzone 2 and absolutely to Modern Warfare 2, which is going to give us a lot of classic nostalgic feel. It looks like they're going to be bringing back some old maps. Of course, we don't know all the details as I'm recording this, but I have been asked thousands of times during my streams, and a lot of you guys have probably stopped by, heard me talk about some of this, but I wanted to put it together as a commentary and video, which I, to be fair, have not done for quite a while. So I'm excited for this, and I'm curious of what you guys think of this as well. This is a better format where we can get everybody on the same page going into the new game, and I'm going to continue following up with this as the new game is out. What are some of my post thoughts, impressions, and as I continue to play through it, of course, we're going to have some good commanding officer content, some spectating content amongst everything for it. But I wanted to go into what were some of my thoughts ahead of the game's launch and give you some of my anticipations. And then even if this is already out, you'll be able to tell, was I right? How wrong was I on some of these points or whatever. But we can at least get a snapshot of where we are at today. To give you guys some context, I have technically over 1,000 wins, but in the main Battle Royale experience, I'm about 25 wins away from 1,000. Got a couple hundred on Rebirth and Mini Royale and the other limited time modes. It's fair to say that I have a lot of experience on this game. My hopes for Warzone 2 then, as this comes out, I think top of mind, we just watched the World Series of Warzone, and there is no sense of real competition in this game. It very much like people have treated it as a competitive game, but the way they typically treat it as a competitive game is going in and pub stomping, which is leading to all these other things, talking about VPNing or bot lobbies or, yeah, I wish I could get those lobbies, etc., which is just like, some people do play for crazy high kill games and they pull records off, and to me, that is damn impressive. Seeing, FIFA, who ended up winning the $100,000 in one single game of solo Warzone, also just before that 3 days before get a 66 kill game in buyback solos. Even if they're against bots, I go against and lose to players that are way worse than me every single day. It's still something that is pretty cool, but it's a lot more impressive when it's all in the same lobby for competition. There is supposedly going to be some type of competitive environment coming, but it's a bigger problem that they don't have any type of reconnect feature and how unstable this game actually is. And we see this so much in Season 5, but every time there's a new update, there's tons of bugs, there's tons of things that are constantly wrong with it, and with no way to reconnect, especially in a competitive environment. In the final game, Aiden was in 4th place, and he disconnected out of the game, leaving his team now as just a duo instead of a trio. Now, they still managed to hold on to 4th, but that could have been a 3rd, 2nd, the difference between 10, 20, $1,000. In those finals, FIFA also disconnected. Zealander disconnected. This is something that PUBG has, Apex has, and I am really hoping that it is going to be in the next game. Before we get deeper into any other UI things or, base game development side things, I want to talk a little bit about the gameplay because I think that's what most of you guys are really interested in. One of the things that I've heard so far rumored is that they're going to be removing loadouts. If you remember back before Warzone came out, and as I was talking about some of that, I was very pessimistic on how the loadout system was going to work. I did not think that this was going to be a good way to do it because I had come from such a standard background in Battle Royales where it's so much more luck-based. And then when you get that when you get that sniper, it's this rare event that is going to be, now you're going to be super powerful. Well, they didn't take that same approach with Warzone, making it so you could choose your exact loadout attachments. There's no floor loot attachments, and it turned out to be, for me, way more fun. I do not like managing all of the different attachments. If you've ever seen me loot, even in Warzone, I'm not that great out of it, but especially in PUBG, Tarkov, Apex, whatever, I am just looking at menus, and I hate it all. I just want to play the game and shoot the people, and that's, and have fun, rather than navigating all of these things. And then it also leaves it up to a lot more luck, where this takes a lot of it out of it. Of course, you still have to get the luck of getting the money, having a buy station, getting a good job for your loadout. So it's not completely void of it, but it allows you to have a lot more choice and control over your playstyle. My point is, this has turned into a really big differentiator for me. Like, this is something that makes this game stand out amongst the crowd. And they've made even better improvements off of it in terms of the pink loadout boxes that are now in. You also now have just floor loot perks that you can get, meaning that you don't need to buy a second loadout. I almost never do it anymore, and I think it takes down a lot of the confusion and barriers for new people even getting into the game, which we'll talk about more later, because you can basically just go straight to your loadout. You don't need to manage a second loadout, and like you just leave it up to the luck of getting more perks, or your weapons allow you to get a reset. I thought it was even cool in the Titanium Trials when they decreased the price of the loadout the later into the game that the game went. If they do take this out, I think this is going to be a massive loss for them in terms of what is making them stand out against the competition. Still, the most searched thing when you start typing in Warzone on YouTube is loadouts. That is what people like. That's what's keeping a lot of interest in this game going. And I'm sure they realize that to a degree, but that leads me to my next point, which is improving the unlocking system. This system has been left in way too long, man. It's an old relic, it feels like, of how you used to do things, and I feel like it can be improved. It can be made way more fun, way more interesting, and clearly it wasn't designed for 3 games, which is one of the reasons we're going to Warzone 2 and getting a clean slate. We have over 200 guns in this game right now, and if you want to unlock them all, it's just completely unreasonable. That's why people are trying to figure out, well, what do I spend the time to unlock? And then if you're a casual player, it's such a bad experience because you start to unlock it because it's the meta, and by the time you get it unlocked, it's already nerfed because you can't play as long or take advantage of it, and that's typically the process for these types of games in general, is whoever plays it the most can find a meta. Even in other games, like if you look at WoW and MMORPGs in general, Lost Ark, whatever, if you figure out like where can you make the most gold, by the time that video makes it out to, you know, YouTube or whatever, people have already played it enough, made enough money off of it that the price is slowly going to go down. That gap of how much money you can make off of it goes down. It's similar in this too. You can only take advantage of a game-abusing glitch or weapon for so long before other people start using it, and it levels the playing field out, and then it's boring because everybody uses the exact same weapons when there's, again, all of these different weapons, but not everybody has them unlocked. Anyways, I'm ranting on it. You see all of the different problems that are within this. All of your gameplay is going towards unlocking the weapons. As soon as you get something unlocked, you don't even get to use it because you got to go on to the next weapon. This is one of the reasons that I still don't have the Modern Warfare 2019 gold weapons unlocked, because you got to do all those kills with no attachments on it, and I can't be bothered. It's too annoying. Yeah, sometimes it can be fun, but to me, it's way more fun to test different loadouts, try different things, especially in Vanguard, where we got 10 attachments on every single weapon. There are so many combinations that you can try out. And along those same lines, when you can choose your weapon in an actual loadout, then it gives you even more incentive to go get that cool skin off of the blueprint that you can unlock. On top of that, having like a specific weapon that you could choose and really like and master and hone in, you could get that weapon charm for it. You can get the, I guess more so, weapon camos and customize the gun, make it look really cool, and you can consistently get that blueprint. Whereas if you're just finding weapons on the ground, then it's like, okay, maybe you get it this game, maybe you don't, and you can't play as a consistent style as much. I mean, look at what happened when they came out with Caldera and they locked the loadout behind a 7-minute wait period, even if you had enough cash. It's a totally different game. But of course, there is still elements of RNG in this game. That, of course, being just random number generator, that is your luck. How lucky are you? When you open that box, do you get 5,000 cash or do you get no cash? When you drop, is there 2 other teams on you? When you're at the end game, does the zone pull in your direction, or does it go the opposite side and the other dude who's on the hill doesn't even need to move and you can't even climb out of the zone because it's literally impossible? They have done so much since this game came out to cater to those players that play at the high end, play all the time. And to be fair, those are the people that are still going to continue to play this game for years and probably are, like you and me, still playing this game. Increase the time to kill. Take out stopping power. Take out dead silence. Oh, you found stopping power on the ground, and now even being an absolute bot, you can completely fry anybody because your gun just does double the amount of damage or whatever it is. You know, it's like, just because you pick something up off the ground, the other guy is clearly a better player, you lose, like... This is where some of those problems arise. Now, for the casual player, I think this actually leads to a better experience. When you get that, just like, it's like playing the slots or gambling in general. You get that crazy good thing, and now you got the power, and you can finally get the kills. You got that fun feeling from playing this game, which is so intense already, then that's what, you know, keeps you going. And I think the more they've taken those things out, it's not as welcoming even to new players on top of everything else I've been talking about. It's been harder in a game like Warzone, where it's stayed the same game for now 3 years, versus Call of Duty comes out with a new game every year. I mean, we had Modern Warfare in 2019, Cold War, and Vanguard all in this one video game. And most of the time, people play it for like a couple months, especially the casuals, maybe 1-2 months, especially that's what I've been doing over the last couple of them. I just go play some other games. Come back the next year, play the campaign, enjoy it, whatever. Like, then they slowly keep tweaking it, it feels like. Increase that time to kill. Make it so that if you start shooting somebody, they can turn around, hit the headshots on you, and outbeam you if they're better. My guess is that we are going to have a lot more of the luck back in the game at the beginning of Warzone 2 to cater to more of the casual player and get more people into it. But it goes back to that they need to have a ranked playlist for the people that do want to play competitively, like an Apex Legends, for example. And even in public lobbies, have some type of information of what kind of lobby you are even in, especially with the level of skill-based matchmaking that they have and how this is affecting the community in general. Like, is this a diamond lobby, bronze lobby, silver lobby? We had the API to figure some of this information out when the game first came out, and then they rolled it all back and made it so these third-party websites couldn't give us this information, but it was clearly a massive thing that the community wanted. In a lot of ways, though, I think it really caters to those upper tier players because let's say, especially as all these people have been getting more and more cracked at the game, so many more people are playing competitively, trying to get views on content, whatever. Now you've got people that are way better at the game. So you might be in like a silver lobby and still getting killed by somebody who's just like slide canceling, jump shotting, drop shotting, and you just come from Battlefield where you're not doing any of that. You're like, what the hell is all this? And you realize like, okay, maybe I'm really bad. And then you just quit the game altogether if you see some of the back-end data. Maybe that's what they're worried about. But I think the main reason that they're not doing anything about it is because it's working as intended, especially making the game crossplay, bringing as many people as they possibly can into the game. They got like 150 million players on this game, right? You get that many people, even if you just keep them for a week, a couple weeks, a month, 2 months, 3 months, that's already a win for them, especially if you compare this to like even music, movies, whatever. Like you might watch it once and you don't really go play it again. Even other video games, right? You look at Elden Ring, its player base is down like 70, 80% or whatever it is. They've retained even more players than that, right? Of course, that's not a bad game at all. A lot of people loved Elden Ring, but they're not going to be able to keep everybody around forever, and that's why I think you see this skewing happening later on in the game and as the time has been developing for it. Where we are at in the game for me, though, is I am ready for more maps, more to do. I have played a ton of Battle Royales now, from Fallout, Radical Heights, of course, Blackout, Rumbleverse even, Apex, Fortnite, Hyperscape, Population 1, Spellbreak. I mean, there's so many, and a lot of that is just, I like the new experiences, I like the new maps, I like learning the environment for it. I loved Verdansk. I think it strongly, I think it should have stayed in a rotation after at least a couple weeks on the new map to give people a chance to go do that. There's a lot of lessons I think they took away, hopefully, from their release of Caldera that they could take into the future here. But by no means do I think they should have just left Verdansk and never done Caldera, never done Fortune's Keep, because those have kept the game a lot more interesting for me. And to me, if they had even more maps, like that's the thing for me for multiplayer Call of Duty is, or even Battlefield or Halo or whatever, is like I need more maps to play on because that's where I'm going to get new content for this. I have played multiplayer games for tens of thousands of hours at this point across all the Call of Duties, Halos, FPS games I've played, Battlefield, Titanfall, Battlefront. Keeping that content flow is important, and that's one of the reasons that like a lot of these games, you look at Halo, it went, what was it, like 6 or 7 months with, I think maybe they came out with one gun, one map, rotated a couple modes that all should have been there at the release of the game. That, to me, it's just like, I played it all. Okay, that was great for, you know, a couple days, and now I need something else to do. If we have a constant flow like what Fortnite does, I'm very impressed with them. They keep coming out with new content, skins, weapons, updates. Even if it's the same map, they're still making massive changes to it, adding AI to it, storylines, all the cosmetics, dances, whatever, all stays around and creates this awesome thing with their custom games, all of the creative that people can create through that. It's beautiful, man. Even if it necessarily isn't new maps, it's something new that is coming to keep the game really interesting and fun. And to be fair, I do think Call of Duty does a pretty good job of this with all of the season updates that they do. They add 2 new weapons each time, sometimes even more, mid-season updates, terrain updates. Where Caldera is at now, if you guys are still playing the game, I'm sure you would agree with me, it is in a much better place than when Caldera first came out. To that same extent, I really want to see an expansion on custom games. This is probably my #1 thing that I want. Of course, a little selfish. I did a ton of stuff with PUBG, community games, zombies, 50v50s. That were some of the biggest videos that I ever did, and just such a big community building thing. Even if you weren't playing the game, I know so many people ended up getting games in my Discord or even created their own things. I know even racing was something that was developed by another creator, and I got into it, and it was one of my biggest videos too. Everybody loved it, even for the sake of watching. It was an awesome thing. And while they do have custom games, and even multiplayer custom games are very, very good for Call of Duty's regular multiplayer. I did a lot of that in the past, and even for Modern Warfare 2019, a lot of fun. But the way you connect, the stability within that, the rules that you can customize within it, it is so bare bones. We just did the final World Series of Warzone, and it was 30 minutes delayed, time between games had to keep resetting. People were disconnecting and it couldn't like it was so many problems that it's like they got to figure this out. And I know it's probably just a small part of the community that likes this, but that is a lot more of where things can continue to scale and keep people involved and interested. Look at Forge. Look at Fortnite's custom environment. One of the best gameplay elements, though, that they've incorporated is keeping the mid-game going. They've done this through a lot of different things, but in particular, the contracts, while some of the ones they've added have not been so great, like Solos having the sabotage one, giving you an armored truck, which was one of the most broken things I ever played. But for the most part, it keeps you going and rotating on top of now being able to get perks, running around and finding redeploy tokens. And on top of that, the events that they've added, both just like fire sales, resupplies, phenomenal, refilling all the boxes, as well as little in-game events like the key cards they had on Verdansk, the underground train station Easter egg in particular. Now, even the new Doomsday stations in Season 5. Some of the problems I have with it is like late-game jailbreaks, although they are actually kind of fun. More so, Zone 6, Zone 7, when 10 helicopters come in the tiniest little airspace, you can't hear anything. But while there's been wins and losses, it keeps the game flowing, especially like the way they've done Resurgence here versus in Blackout, which is based on zone closes. Resurgence Solos has been one of my favorites, and I would love to see them do some tweaks so it works on the big map as well. The solo experience in this game is one of the best, although there is still a lot of feedback that I have for them on that. Obviously, if you guys probably have heard me rant about this a bit in any of my solo content, but please keep iterating on this. When they first came out, this game was only trios, similar to what Apex Legends did. Apex even tried a solos mode, which I personally loved, but they discontinued and never brought back. This game has an opportunity to deliver a really good solo experience. Please keep improving it. It is one of my favorite ways to play the game because you always have an intense endgame. Almost like versus a 4v1 in quads. It's just like, okay, how are we going to kill this guy? You know, it's like you get these crazy endgames that are so good. It's just some of the mid-game is so slow. Finally, I want them to make some improvements with the item management. To be fair, I think they have a really good experience, especially compared to some of the other games that I mentioned earlier. The fact you can just run over ammo, pick everything up, the way plates are managed, you can quickly just pick up weapons, you get an idea for how good they are, even if you don't know the specifics. For every single attachment, you can't customize every single one on the fly. It lets you play the game and just, to me, have way more fun. The one thing that has always been a massive frustration is the gas mask, and they've tried to make it so you can manually do it, take it off and on. I haven't really even tried that yet. Maybe I will. Let me know what you guys think of it. I'm fine if they want gas to be really punishing and keep you away from the zone and keep that in completely, but I think there's other ways, whether it's increasing the damage that you take in the zone, decreasing your visibility to see out of the zone, making some type of other effect when you go in or out of it, because the poor animations and the nonsensical taking off a gas mask while you're trying to aim down sight, it just doesn't, it leads to more frustration than there needs to be in how this is implemented, in my opinion. Do I play around it very well now? I do, for the most part, especially since they fixed it where if you're jumping, at least you can still pull your parachute, but like these frustrations were so long in the game that I'm worried about other UI elements or management elements that could affect things going into Warzone 2. Obviously, there's way more that we can even go into with some of this, but I wanted to recap some of the thoughts, some of the things we've been talking about every single day for all of you guys who watch this as a video. Let me know what you think about it if you've never left a comment, and what did I miss? If I missed anything on this, I'm happy to talk about this even further, especially as this does come out. Once Warzone 2 is out, we're going to be doing some meta breakdowns, just like I did when the game first came out, explaining the overall strategy, and I'll talk about how it's even different from Warzone 1 to 2, especially if you haven't been playing this very much. My original video still holds up with how this game is played. Same thing with the sniper strategy deep dive and what I prioritize and look for to make it as efficient as possible.
Of course, we're going to be going as a CO a couple more times as well. Of course, we got some privates to train up as well in the new game, so we're going to be going in full comms, as well as my new series where I'm spectating your sorry asses. You better hope I don't spectate you.
Of course, tons of top plays, and I might even do some more casting in Modern Warfare 2, since that's going to be out prior to Warzone 2 by a couple weeks. So with that, thank you so much for watching. Give it a like if you did enjoy it. A thumbs down, angry react if I shouldn't be doing these anymore, but that's for this one. Thanks so much for watching. This is stonemountain64. Over and out. If you're a casual player, it's such a bad experience because you start to unlock it because it's the meta, and by the time you get it unlocked, it's already nerfed because you can't play as long or take advantage of it, and that's typically the process for these types of games in general, is whoever plays it the most can find a meta, even in other games, like if you look at...